Hello, beautiful people. Welcome or welcome back. I am Andrea B, and happy Thursday for me. Happy day to you, whatever day it is. I am tuning in again in the great outdoors, and I have my lovely water bottle filled with some water. And cheers! Now, before I get into today's topic, I was leaving the social security office, and I saw a car parked right next to mine, and they had bumper stickers all over, and I saw one that said, "My kid is terrific." And I saw that and I said, how terrific is your kid that you have to put it on a bumper sticker? And I don't know. I don't know their kid, but it was just funny when I saw it. I just said, mm, who are you trying to fool? Are you trying to convince us that you have the world's greatest kid? I don't know. I never seen anything like that one before. It just reminded me of the ones that say, my student is a scholar, etc., etc. Brag about your kids if you want to. No harm. I just thought it was funny. I'm not hating, especially if your kids are great, respectful, kind. They deserve to be celebrated. But anyway, tangent over. I just am thinking about how people are so used to being in pain. People are so used to fighting and destructive behaviors that they haven't been exposed to anything else other than fighting, arguing, and being nasty toward each other. That is so unfortunate because that's not the only way to engage with people, obviously. But if you haven't been exposed to that, you're only going to go off of what you know. And obvious, right? When we know something, that's what we go off of. That's what we apply. But when people try to challenge what you know, sometimes there is a clash because you may be thinking, you don't know what you're talking about, you don't understand, or you're just lying to me, that only happens on TV, etc., etc. And then it goes back to you doing what you're used to doing. That is very unfortunate because you're not in a position to learn something new. You're not allowing yourself to explore the possibilities because you're immediately shutting down the idea that there is another way to engage with people. So, what happens now, right? Well, I think what I think is I'm painting that picture in my mind of who says we should just fight each other. Who says we can't get along? Who says that relationships have to be filled with toxicity and disrespect? It who says it has to be that way? Just because that's what you've seen doesn't mean that's it. And we know that that's not okay because kids like to challenge adults, and they like to push back and ask questions. Why do I have to do this? Why is it okay for you to do it and I can't do it? So kids already know that something is contradicting. But if their parent, caregiver, does not teach them differently and explain, okay, this is why people do things this way, and this is why people do things another way, they won't get that full understanding. Usually the response is just do as I say, not as I do. And what's the other one? Oh, because I said so. That's why you can't do it, because I said so. Okay, no, whatever. That may shut the kid up temporarily, but it will always be in the back of their mind that they did not get a clear explanation. Kids like to ask questions, they like to learn, they like to explore, as they should, because they're children. They're trying to make sense of the world around them. And if we are not teaching them, guess what happens? They grow into adults that do the very things that I'm talking about, because these behaviors have been ingrained in them. Because they're hearing the words, it's like slapping someone just for breathing, and then you say, "Oh, I'm sorry." So, yes, of course, that kid is going to have that ingrained in them that I can do whatever I want as long as I say the right things. So, that's why that do as I say, not as I do thing, um, no. Because at the same time, the kid is learning, okay, so mom is saying this and doing this, but as long as I say the right things, that's what matters. Of course, they're going to go both on visual and what's the other one? Auditory. They're going to go off of what they're learning all around. That's why we have eyes, that's why we have ears to use, and we have our mouths to use. These are all tools. So kids are learning to use all the tools they have based on what they've learned. So, I just think it's very unfortunate, because at a certain point, it becomes too late for a lot of people. And my motto is, as long as we are alive, we can change. I stand by that, because the time is now. You can be 85, you can be 150. If you are alive, you can make a change. Now, if you have been destructive your whole life up until 80, it will seem very unlikely that you will change by 81. Is it possible though? Absolutely. If you are way younger than 81, don't wait that long, because you may not get that opportunity. Don't get comfortable and just sit back and say, all right, I will change when I'm about 85. Okay, do not play in God's face like that. This dress is, have to keep adjusting it. It's getting to me. But anyway, don't wait. The time is now. Make the most of now. Use the time you have to make improvements. But what happens is, a lot of people are complacent. They get so used to living in chaos that they don't they don't strive for anything else. People crave chaos because it makes them feel alive. It keeps them going. They feel excited. I even hear people say, what do they say? Um, Not fighting in a relationship is boring to them. That's why a lot of women say they want a mix between a good guy and a thug, because they have that happy medium of, he's not too rough around the edges, but he's also not a square and boring, and he has some edge to him, just not too much. Whatever. It's foolish, honestly. It's very foolish because women pass up good quality men because they think he's too square. He does not fit society's idea of a fun man, a man that likes to be adventurous and um, a thrill seeker, basically. And women have to be careful. If you are single, um, or if your desire is to be married, find a man of God. You have to pay attention to the type of adventure you are craving in a man. Adventure can be fun, it can be exciting, it can be liberating. Let that inner child run free to a certain degree, because you are likely passing up a good quality man that likes to be adventurous, but not so adventurous that he's wanting to put his life in danger in doing something foolish. And if if chaos is what you seek, and if you cannot sit in a room for 10 minutes without starting a fight, there is a problem. If you are looking for an argument, and I'm picking on women quite a bit right now because I see it happening, and I've been there. So I can only speak from my experience of being a woman, where I've seen women come up with something out of thin air. There's a challenge going on social media right now of women will fix their spouse a plate and purposely put more food on the spouse's plate, little food on their own plate, to see the husband's reaction. So one woman recorded, and her husband proceeds to eat. And then she says, "So you're just going to eat your food? You don't see how much food is on my plate? You're not going to say anything?" And he said, "Oh, I just didn't think you were that hungry. I didn't think you were feeling well." And she was so heated because he did not acknowledge the amount of food that was on her plate. And I entertained both sides for a bit, and I said, I can see why she'd be upset. She, not saying she doesn't have a right to be upset. People can be upset if they want to. That's not the problem. I said, let's say she wasn't feeling well. Maybe she wanted him to just check in and say, "Hey, I noticed you don't have a lot of food on your plate. Is everything okay?" Maybe that's what she wanted. But the flip side of it is, if you want to see that your man cares about you, don't play a game with him. If you're questioning if he cares, be very direct and just say, "Hey, I've been feeling this way lately. I just want to know where you stand." Or, "Hey, today's a little bit different for me. I know I'm not eating as much food as I typically do. I just want you to know I'm not feeling well." But instead, she proceeded to be very confrontational with him, and it caught him off guard. So I use that example going back to, if you are so confrontational that there's constant fighting and bickering, and you have more bad moments than good, and your relationship is, it's like the good times just don't last long enough for you to notice them, there is a clear problem. And if that's how you want to live your life, if that's how you see your relationship and you want that for yourself, keep doing what you're doing. You're on the right track. But I know a lot of you don't want that because I see the complaints. Women are always saying, "Where are the good men?" They're always saying, "I want a man that's attentive and caring, and I want a provider and a leader," and yada, yada, yada. But what are you doing to receive that? Because a good quality man of God is not going to want to provide for you if you are just constantly meeting him with chaos. And I say all that to say, I'm just thinking about the change, because if, let's say, and I can even think of me, for example, I've said in previous videos, my goodness, this dress is, forgive me, y'all. Y'all are being exposed to my undergarments, and I'm not doing it on purpose, I promise. This dress is just, has a mind of its own right now. So, for example, in previous videos, I've shared not making changes to heal from my past until I was about 25, 26. That is a very long time to be used to destruction and toxic relationships and fighting insecurities and having trust issues. I carried that for most of my life. So now I am becoming more used to peace and stillness and not constantly thinking about who likes me, am I doing enough, who's cheating on who, what are they doing when they're not texting me. My mind has been freed up so much that it still amazes me that I used to spend so much time stressed and worried about other people, and it just took up too much time. And I've accomplished so much on paper, but mentally, I was not present enough to really take advantage of all the opportunities I had been given. And there are times where I look back and said, like, for example, when I was in undergrad, there were so many free resources available to students. And I look back and say, oh, if I were more present at the time, it could have been helpful to pay attention, use this resource, but I just wasn't there. Because now I can see how beneficial it would have been, but the time has passed. And because I was so distracted mentally, all I can do now is learn from it so that I don't have to go through that again. And because, as I was saying, I'm now becoming more used to peace. My mind is clear, and of course I'm human, so I still have insecurities at times. I still worry. I still have doubts, but they don't last. They're not lasting for days and weeks and months. They may last 30 minutes max. Even that's quite a bit of time, because I'm able to recognize when these insecurities come up, and I'm able to reframe my thought process. I'm able to affirm myself and feed my mind those positive affirmations so that I am not holding on to the negativity. And that's the key difference. Is before I did not have the tools. Before, I would have the worry and go down a spiral, and that's why it would last days, months, years, because I did not know. I was not taught how to overcome those negative funks. I was used to just having a negative thought and running with it. So now there has been quite a bit of change in my life since then. And sometimes it's scary because I'm not used to it. And I'm thinking, Lord, what is happening? Like, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm able to think this way and see the world differently. It scared me so much that sometimes I worry that if I am so peaceful, that God will say, all right, well, you've passed the test. Now it's time to call you home. It's like, Lord, no, no. Yes, I want to meet the Lord, but no time soon. Not face to face. I'm not ready. Because if it were up to me, I just believe I still have time on this earth to live out my purpose. And just to be real, I lived my life in so much chaos that it just seems so unfair that now would be the time that the Lord called me home. It's like, God, it feels like I'm just getting started. It feels like I'm just now beginning to make the most of life. So please let me live it out some more time, just please. That's how I talk with God, and that's how I like to think. It is just, I remember where I came from, and that's why I'm so passionate about doing this work, because it, like I said, I've been alive for some time, but it feels like I'm just getting started. It's like now I went through all the hard stuff, and now I can live my best life, and no one can stop me. That's exactly how it feels. And but I'm still adjusting to the change. I'm still adjusting to this level of peace and clarity that I did not know was possible. I did not dream of this growing up. My only dreams were to become a doctor, get married, and have kids. One of the three happened. Becoming a doctor is not even a dream of mine anymore. Kids, yes, I still want those if it is in God's will for me, which I believe, because it, for me, it doesn't make sense why God would put that desire on my heart for it to not be fulfilled. I had desires for kids before I even knew how kids were conceived. I was a kid saying, I want to have kids when I grow up. So why would I say that as a kid? I give that credit to the Lord. I believe God wants me to be a mother. So, saying all that to say, it can be scary to see how far I've come and to live on a different side of that chaos. It just shows me how big the world is and how beautiful the world is. And I can only imagine what God has in store for me because of it. And fear of the unknown is very real. I've lived it, and I still do from time to time. And I bring that up because I believe people continue to live in chaos because if they allow themselves to think about a life without it, or a life where the chaos slows down, it scares them so much that they stay complacent. They are afraid to get out of that comfort zone because they want to predict what's coming next. If you keep doing the same thing, you can predict getting the same results. So of course, people are going to keep doing the same things because they quote unquote know what's on the other side. And so once you start making changes, that's when people start thinking about, what if this doesn't work? What if I fail? What if? And so, yes, newsflash, none of us can predict the future. So, whether you're doing the same thing or not, you can't predict. But we can hypothesize that that's why people do it, because we can predict, because having those predictions allows us to inform how to go about different studies, and just to make some generalizations about the world and people's behaviors. So my point in that, though, is ultimately, as much as we hypothesize and try to predict and assume, we just don't know what is on the other side of it. And because of that, I think we should just go for it. Whatever God is calling us to, go for it. It may be scary. It's change, it's new, it's unfamiliar, and it may be worth it. It may benefit you so much that you will be grateful that you chose to listen and step outside of your comfort zone. And I can promise you that, because I know how rewarding it's been for me to step out of my comfort zone. Because when I realized that I was the only one standing in my way, I said this before, but I had to cry it out. And then I was able to laugh and just say, wow, it's been me all along. I can't blame anyone else but me. And I was able to laugh because the unstoppable mindset came back, and I just said, watch out, world, because now I will not get in my way. I won't allow other people to get in my way, because I see how much control I have. I know how uncomfortable chaos is. I don't want that, because the world is filled with so much chaos already, that why would I choose it? I'm probably going to bump into it unexpectedly. I don't want it, but I'd rather bump into the chaos than to actively walk into it when all the signs are pointing to the exit and saying abort mission. That is how freeing it is to be in control. I hope you want that for yourself. And it will, like I said, it may be scary. You may feel alone, because you're going to be shedding a lot. You're going to be shedding people, your beliefs, your behaviors, things that you have been doing, habits that you formed from probably childhood to adulthood, where you are now. Of course, it's going to feel scary and unfamiliar, because that's why people usually give up, like a weight loss plan. Um, People's, oh, this isn't going to work. What's the point? I might as well just keep doing what I'm doing. I was fine before. I've even heard people say, um, like, smoking, and, oh, I never got cancer. My grandma smoked until she was 105, and she lived long. She didn't have cancer, yada, yada, yada. So we hear things like that. And that's enough to say, I'm not going to change. What's the point? Now, do what you want. You've been doing what you want all this time, so clearly you don't need me to tell you that. But this is for the people that want to step out of their way, get out of that comfort zone, to liberate themselves because God wants to do it for you if you allow Him to. We know that God gives us free will. He does not want a puppet show running around on earth. If He wanted a puppet show, a lot of our abilities would probably be stripped away, because what's the point? What's the point of having free will if God just wants to keep us on strings? I think He just wants us on one string, which is to believe in Him, trust Him, love Him, connect with Him. That is all He wants for us. And just doing those things, the rewards are so very beautiful. And if that's the relationship you want with God, where you can say, I surrender, I give my life to you, I trust you, Lord, I have faith in your plan for my life. I may not like it, but I know you have my best interest in heart. If that's the relationship you want with God, this video is for you. Because I can guarantee, I usually don't make promises, but this is one that I am confident in making, is that, and it's not even my promise, it's God's promise, but I stand by His promise because I am living it out. So I can agree and say, yes, God is a rewarder because I have been receiving so much from Him. Now, He's already been so gracious to me before I turned my life over to Him. But once I made that decision, the rewards have been so very beautiful. And I don't want to take that for granted. I hope you don't want to take these rewards for granted, because people say all day long what they want: the spouse, the house, the car. But what are you doing to get those things? And what's the point of working hard to get those things if you're just going to live in chaos? If it's not you, maybe it's your friend coming over slashing your tires because they're mad at you, and coming into your place and trashing it, disrespecting you, because God showed you a long time ago that that was not the friend for you. You ignore the signs, there's the result. And then the excuses come. Oh, you know, they were just angry, they didn't mean it. Okay, how much more will it take for you to see that that's not the friend for you? That's not the spouse for you. That's not the opportunity for you. If you are constantly met with chaos, take it for what it is. And when I say take it, I don't mean just accept it into your life. I mean acknowledge it, face the facts, because that will help you inform your next decision. That is what life is for. To use those experiences, learn our lesson, go the other way. So, if you are used to more chaos than not only is this video for you, but before making any drastic decisions, I think just taking the time to be honest with yourself is a great start, because, like I said, things will be shedding. And the way I like to frame it is, if you focus more on the habits you want, the habits you don't want will slip away over time. The people you don't want to be surrounded with, the moment they see your interest changing, distance will be created. They will go the other way because there won't be much connecting you anymore. And they may reject you for it. You used to hang out with us, now you don't. What do you mean you're going to the library on a Friday? Friday is our turn up time. We're supposed to be at the club. Just keep doing those habits that you want, and your environment will begin to transform. Because what happens is, and speaking from experience, when I focus more on what I don't want, it comes with the shame, with the negative self-talk, and the hopelessness. And I've learned that if I just focus on the habits I want, 5 minutes, 10 minutes out of the day, my mindset is completely shifted. Um, and so too, I say that because going back to my suggestion of not doing anything too drastic, because it's like the weight loss thing I was talking about. People will go on extreme diets. I want to lose 20 pounds. If they're not losing it fast enough, extreme diets, extreme working out, rushing it, then they're thinking, this is never going to work. I'm never going to lose this weight. Nothing's going to change. And focus on the small things you can do. If you're not used to working out, you don't have to start with 2 hours. If you are not used to eating vegetables, you don't have to eat a full plate of vegetables 2 meals a day. Add a little bit of vegetables to each meal. Slowly work your way up, and boom, you may look up and then 2 months later you're eating a full plate of vegetables all day. But if that's not you now, don't force it. Start with the habits that are reasonable for you, that take you out of your comfort zone, but not stripping you away. Because that's usually where people are resistant, is where they're snatched out of their comfort zone and they didn't have a chance to adjust to that transition. And so I say all that to say, start slow, take those baby steps, and this just reminds me of the importance of the delayed gratification too, because you may not be stripping that weight in a week, but if you're stripping 1 pound, 2 pound a week, that means you know something you're doing is working. So keep doing that, and then next thing you know, you're stripping that 20. So being okay with things not happening right away. Things take time. Not everything. Some good habits, or some rewards rather, may happen immediately. Some things not so much. So it does require delayed gratification, being okay knowing that the reward will come, just not right now, but staying the course and not giving up. Because my final thought on this is, people give up because, or when people give up, they'll say this doesn't work, and so they will go back to doing the thing that they know doesn't work. So they don't give themselves enough time to stick with something new. They'll try something new once and just say, I'm just gonna go back to my old ways. If it wasn't working then, why go back to it? It's not going to work later. And I'll even say that, and that's another reason why I say don't make drastic changes, because what you're doing may be working, but you need more time to see the impact. And an example I can use is couples I work with, where one spouse will say, I approach them calmly and they're still defensive. And I when I'm not calm, when I'm confrontational, they're still defensive. So what's the point if they're just going to be defensive? And my thought to that is, if they are defensive whether you are confrontational or not, that is a clear sign that it's them, not you. They're going to be defensive regardless. People are in control of themselves. So if you know that being calm is the best approach and the desired behavior, just be calm. Let them be defensive if they want to. That's their problem to work on. Because from personal experience, when I remain calm, it showed me more about that person, and I felt so good about myself because I knew I was headed in the right direction. I was proud of myself for remaining calm and not engaging in the chaos with them. I'm not fighting back with you, not arguing. I'm not going to be defensive because I know what being defensive is like. And not every situation calls for that. There's a time and place to be defensive. And if you have to be defensive more times than not, this is the video for you. Because what type of life are you living that you have to constantly be defensive? You're constantly on fight mode. You have to survive and protect yourself, and you're constantly at war. What type of life are you living? I can only imagine. And for me, I'm going to be honest, I was so defensive all the time that it was not called for. There were not that many threats in my life for me to be constantly defensive. That's the point I'm making. So, when you do what's best for you, when you are doing the desired behaviors, let people act how they want to act. They're going to do it anyway. You can take it or leave it. But I guarantee you will walk away feeling so very proud of yourself because you are becoming a better version of yourself instead of remaining the same. And then you can see the results of it. So, that is all from me today for this video. I can't say today because the day is young and God may say, get back on. But for me, that's just it for this video. And I know I'm saying that's it, and also you're probably thinking, sounds like she wants to say more. I do, because I know earlier in this video I was speaking about what I see in women, and as a woman, what I've seen. And if that turned you away and you say, oh, this is another one of those videos, another pick me, yada yada, I don't care so much about that because you're going to say whatever you want. The reason I say that, though, is because I understand. I study people. I do. Not just because I'm a therapist, but I'm very observant. I always have been an observant person since I can remember as a child. Now, I study men too, but say what you want, you're gonna do it anyway. But my hope is to reach all people, especially women, because we need to help each other. Women need to see positive examples of womanhood, sisterhood, grace and elegance and class and poise, all the good things. So if I can tell you from my experience, my hope is that you will learn from it and be appreciative that there are examples out there and that there are women that want to teach you, and that there are women that can say, I see you, I hear you, I know it's hard, I know you want more, but this is not the way, this is not the route you want to go. And it's not me talking at people and putting you down and saying I'm better than you. And I very much know that there are some men out there that are up to no good. Duh, I talk about them in previous videos. I dated some of them. So I know that they are out there. But there is a time to blame them and a time to blame ourselves, because we don't have to accept that. We don't have to tolerate those men. We don't have to date them. So you can keep dating those men and trash talking them, but the only thing people are focused on is the fact that you are still dating those men. They're going to say, but you're with him though. You're talking trash about him, but you're still dating him. What does that say about you for dating someone that is trash and doesn't wash his booty and breath stink and cheating and lying? What does that say about you for dating that man? That is what matters. Like I said, I am very big on taking responsibility for ourselves and our actions. So, this is all with love. I know the people that want to hear this, they will hear it. And if you've made it this far and you had some discomfort with what I was saying earlier and you get to this point, I hope this helps you understand my position and my intention is to be very honest. I love honesty. I love realness. I love logic. And I just want to spread that. I want to see people living their best life. That's all I want. The rest is up to you. That's my disclaimer. And the people that know me know my intentions, but I have a feeling that there's some people that may not be in a position to hear this yet, but God is still working on them. And maybe it's not just gonna come from me, which I get. I know I can't help everyone. I don't want to help everyone, to be honest. That's a lot of work. But if I'm not the person you are meant to hear this message from, all I pray for is that you get it somewhere, and that when you do, you are in a position to receive it so that you can make better choices. It's not for me to take all the credit and say, oh, if you don't hear from me, then you're out of luck. No, because I'm not the only one with the wisdom and the knowledge and the experience. So I can't take the credit, but God will lead you to the person you are meant to hear the message from. That's all I want for you all. So, disclaimer over, video over. I know there's a little bit of noise, some work being done behind the scenes, so I hope the sound is great, but thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share, turn on notifications if you haven't already, and take care of yourselves, love one another. Until next time, peace out.